happy blade birthdays in the past, happy future birthdays in the future. My name is Lime Green. Welcome to the All Time Podcast, the podcast where you, yes you, request for me to play games that I've never played before and that I should have played a long time ago. In this case, it's NieR Automata. I still am like 90% sure if I'm saying that right, but we're not gonna think too hard on it. This is episode 2. Last time, what'd we do? We fought, I'm assuming it's the second boss, possibly the first boss in the desert area, and really kicked the game off. I'm not really sure how long the game itself is. I want to say it's pretty long. I'm gonna say this right out here. I know there's multiple endings. I got spoiled on that. Just kind of looking up, thumbnail images. I'm not really sure how you would access other endings, though. That's something I'm not spoiled on. Or if you need to complete the game multiple times. That's all I know. Another thing I want to say from last episode. I talked about a little bit of Life is Strange last time. And I wanted to say, as an addendum, because since then, Life is Strange got the announcement of another game, and I called that. There was rumors about another game, and I said, hey, there's probably gonna be another game, and there was. And I want to make my apology video. This game looks good, and they're doing something that I never thought they would do, and bring back the rewind feature. I thought after Double Exposure, they would just be done with, I guess, the rewind. I thought the sequel to Double Exposure would just be more of the same mechanics they had. But, they're really proving me wrong. And I love to be proved wrong, Now, they are bringing back, paid for DLC, extra outfits. I'd love to be proved wrong, and there's DLC that actually I want to pay for, or at the best case scenario, DLC that doesn't even matter, like free DLC. But I'll take it what I can get. But yeah, that's Life is Strange. I'm more looking forward to Life is Strange than I was before. You got me, Deck 9. You hooked me. I'm back on your crazy train. Now, let's actually get into NieR. Continuing right where we left off, I thought this game would be kind of similar to Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, in that every time you do like a big mission or something, you would have to return back to the moon and like just kind of hang out there, and then they would be like, 2B, there's a problem going on. We're gonna have to send you back down to Earth, for this crazy thing going on with the robots. And then, you go back down to Earth, and then, continue on from there, and then go back up to the base on the moon, and then kind of like a mission system, but I guess less gamey. But no, right after you beat Adam, I believe, they're just like, all right, head back to the camp. And that kind of threw me for a loop. I was expecting, like I said, to return to the moon base, which still I haven't done yet. Uh, Again, I like being surprised, and this game is really surprising so far. I'm very surprised and delighted. Anyways, you head back to the camp, and they're like, hey, we've prepared a nice room you can relax in. And you go into the room, and it's got a mattress, it's got a nice chest, it's got... It kind of looks like a closet, to be honest. And you can sleep on the bed to, like, save or whatever. And really, it opens the door to some lore questions, honestly. Like, do robots dream of electric sheep? Like, androids sleep? Like, what does this mean? Do they need to eat? Do they... I don't know. Like, 2B's always... Well, 9S, really. 9S is always like, look at these robots. They can't speak. But here they are, like, sleeping. They're not robots. They're androids made to look like humans. But I wouldn't think they would be sleeping. You know? What purpose is that really serving? You know? Anyways, 2B sleeps. 9S doesn't. 9S has a bed, but he doesn't go to sleep. He just kind of stands there. It's kind of awkward. It's like, man, you got your own bed. And then you leave camp, and then you get a little call. It's like, beep, beep, beep. Hey, we've lost some units close to the area. Can you go find them? And you're like, all right, I'll go find some lost Yorha units. And it's actually not too far away. You make your journey through, like, the torn up town, through some sewers, and then you see what looks like Disneyland, Disney World. Now, remember when I said I haven't looked at any of the endings or how to get them? I still haven't, for the record. And when I came up to this Disneyland looking place and all the robots are dancing, you know, they're holding balloons and all that, the idea of the endings popped up into my head. And I'm like, there could be an option for an ending here. Or, like, you know, to get an ending. I thought, what if, you know, 9S has been really pushing this, like, this idea that the robots are, you know, just acting, just saying random things. What if there's like a pacifist sort of thing, and the game's keeping track of every robot you've killed, and it's gonna be like at the end game, it's gonna be like, well, if you've only killed 500 robots, you know, you get to face like a weak final boss. But if you've killed 10,000 robots, you have to face like a crazy final boss. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't know the ending. So I just rushed through all of the craziness. There's like a parade robot thing. I'd rush past it all because something was telling me if I fought these Disneyland robots, it would not be good. I let them be, and I felt morally right for it. So they had this huge tank in Disney World. It came at me. I dodged that. And then you come up on this roller coaster, and you think Tubi's gonna jump in there and, ride it like a normal human being. She knows how to use a bed properly, and she apparently doesn't know how to use a roller coaster properly. She jumps in there and stands on top of it. And this section was pretty cool. You got do like a whole fighting section on top of a roller coaster, and it's like riding around with a 9S. And he says here, call me Nines. And Tubi's like, huh. And then it leads into like the next boss battle, where your signal picks up for the Yorha. I want to call them agents. It's not agents. It's like units. That's what it's called. Yorha units, I'm pretty sure. And like it's this huge marionette animatronic type of thing. And on like the puppeteer, it's like a puppeteer type of deal. On the puppet, there's like all the units that have gone missing, and they're all dead. And throughout the battle, she's just like throwing them out at you and commanding them. This is like a really cool boss fight, I have to admit. I don't think I've ever had a boss fight quite like this. A little tough, but again, like nothing I can't handle so far. Nothing that's like, oh man, I'll throw this game down and quit for a week. But I will say, there's a hacking section, and because 9S says, hey, I'm gonna try and hack them back. I would have thought 9S's hacking would have like done significant damage to the boss, like stun them or something. That's the only thing I would have been like, would have changed if I if I would have been directing the game or something. But other than that, I thought this was like really good. It had a lot of variety in this boss fight. That's one thing in this game I'm realizing. Every boss is very different so far, and it has a lot of just variety in each of the phases of the bosses as well. I have one other small, strange nitpick about this boss fight specifically, and I felt like it's weird that the boss can just summon seemingly infinite. I I did not see for certain if it is infinite, seemingly infinite amounts of Yorha units when it is specified that we are there looking for, a seemingly not infinite amount of Yorha units. Now you can argue, maybe there's other Yorha units that this boss found, just bringing up the total Yorha units that we didn't know about, kind of got drug into this situation. But I don't know. I feel like there should be, and there might be, a situation where you can just sit there and be like pew pew pew, and then just like destroy up to like, I don't know, we'll say 70's popping up in my head for some reason, like 70 of these guys, and then like 9S says, I think that's all of them. Let's focus on the main boss, or he'll say like the enemy. They like using the word enemy, and yeah, again, that might be true. I didn't stand there and focus on it, but it felt infinite to me. Um, Eventually, how the boss fight ends is the little. I again, I'm not sure what they're called. I just call him like the little guy. Just annihilates the boss, and it turns into like a huge explosion, fire, a big fireball, and Tubi's like, "Can we save any of them?" And it's not looking like it. They're already dead. They're just being puppeted around. So you leave and you run into like a robot waving a white flag, and you follow them. And this is again the scenery slash camera work in this game is really good. I was taking a whole bunch of pictures during this time, because you just have like fireworks in the background. I like to believe that this is like the robots celebrating you beating the boss, ending the reign of tyranny. It's my headcanon, and it kind of turns into like a 2D platforming section around here. If I have to relate it, you know me, I love relating games to other games, especially if it doesn't make sense. Reminds me of Super Mario Odyssey, the forest level, and uh, this is a strange pick, but also I've never played it. Wario World, I think it's the first level of Wario World, like very foresty. Uh, just the forest greenery in general, kind of reminded me of another forest. I know. Not sure why specifically those two levels, but I know why. It's because it's a forest city in a game. That's the connection. Machine Village 8, that's its name. I've been praising this game a lot. If they drop the ball somewhere, it's just naming the the village Machine Village. What's up with that? It's a pretty nice place. 9S continues to be a little paranoid about it. You know, that's all right, I guess. Uh, yeah, check it out. Pascal, the leader of Machine Village. Another thing this reminds me of is in let's continue to get sidetracked the whole episode, Lime Green. Why not? In Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, the freedom fighters in the trees, you know. But anyway, anyways, Pascal, the leader, they're like, hey, we actually do trading with the camp you've been visiting, the resistance camp, and here's a fuel filter, why don't you go deliver it to them? And you go all the way back, and they're like, here's some viscous oil, go give it to the robots. Why haven't the the camp ever mentioned these nice robots? I don't know. Maybe they want to keep it a secret. They didn't want the secret getting out. They thought INS would judge them or something. I don't know. But you go back the second time, and you give it to Pascal, and then it's like, beep, 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 beep. And then it's like, uh-oh, there is a calamity happening. There's a Goliath, another one of these giant, I'm not even sure, like machines, I guess it would be. And it's stomping around in the city, and you're like, well, this is what's going through my head when I'm coming up on it. I'm like, all right, well, where's that? Am I gonna have to? This, apparently, this is why I'm always thinking. I'm like, am I gonna like go to like this own brand new location to fight it? No, like when you're going back in the city, it's just there. And 9S, he's like trying to call up, uh, like the little TIE fighters, I guess they are. And, eventually they come, but they don't really come in time. You have to do like this whole section where you're like running past this Goliath, and it's like, again, cinema. You got run past him and he's destroying stuff, and you get like this huge sense of scale of the Goliath. And then you have to climb this huge building, like floor after floor, and then you get to the top and do a boss fight. Now, I will deduct you points, NieR, because if you lose the boss fight, which I did, you have to do the whole, little sense of scale, climb the stairs, do the boss fight all over again. Even if you die in the second phase, you know, and I'll say in the second phase, which is in the aerial combat, the shmup section, there were some sections I'm like, how are you supposed to dodge this? I was just taking the hits because the Goliath just does like a huge, almost like a punch out style, like swing across the entire stage, and I had no idea how to react to that. I would move to the way side of the corner of the uh I guess screen, and I would hope and pray that he would not get me, but some instances he would. So I'm not entirely sure what you'd have to do in such scenarios. I'm guessing it's like every attack can be avoided. I'm thinking it is, but again, I'm just lime green. uh, I'm probably playing the game, how I always play, and it's very badly. When you finally beat the battle, finally get the final hit on the Goliath, it goes into a cutscene. His metal gears are spinning, and you're like, oh man, what's gonna happen? Is there gonna be another phase? And then the ground beneath him opens up, and he falls into the earth. And it's like, what the heck? Is he gonna like transform? No, he fell into the ground, into an alien base. And it's like, what? So that's like the next portion. I was gonna leave it there, do 2 bosses, and then, that was gonna be like the whole thing throughout the series. But man, you got me hooked. So then they announced, hey, all Yorka units, go into this alien base that just opened up in the ground. And I'm like, okay. You jump in there, 2B9S, and it's kind of like a little tunnel, little thing, water's flowing through. It's very, again, cinematic. And you walk through, and it's kind of like turns into like a spaceship setting. And, this is where, like, the aliens created the machines that took over Earth, made the humans flee to the moon. And you're walking around looking for the aliens, and then you find like the remains of aliens, and you're like, where are And then you see the machine humanoid people that you met at the desert earlier. Those guys, the Adam and Eve, and they appear and they're like, we are the machines that the aliens built, but we became like greater than them, and we like destroyed them all. And I was like, what the heck? And then they said, join us. And 9S is like, we'll never join you. That's stupid. And all this is happening like while you're fighting. And also this was like a crazy fight too, because I'm not sure if I was like prepared or under level or whatever, but I was getting knocked around every which way. And then they're like, well, we'll just go see your friends on the moon. And I was like, what? That was the moment I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. You know about the humans on the moon? You are advanced AI. That was supposed to be like a secret, I guess. I thought that was going to be like our trump card. And then at the end of the conversation, they just leave. The fight ends and they leave. Like, we don't even kick their butts sufficiently enough, and they don't kick our butts sufficiently enough. They just say, we're tired of talking to you. And that might be like their greatest strength. That might be like, how do I word this? That might be the greatest showing of their power. Like, we could do this, but we're not going to, you know? And that is where I was like, okay, we gotta stop playing. I want to play more. I want to see what's going to happen. But we gotta call it. That's 3 bosses. I put a nice bookender at the end here. I still think this game is really, really good. What do I think is going to happen? I'm not really sure. Like, after the reveal of the aliens all being dead, I want to say, coming up here, we're going to the moon base pretty soon. Because, you know, Adam and Eve, you know, they said, hey, we know about it. We're gonna be attacking them if you don't join us. So, I can see that in the world where, you know, that's like the final mission. But this game's been subverting my expectations a lot. So I can also see that like a world where just the big moon base just happens next mission, right? And then you have to try and defend the remaining humans throughout the rest of the game, because all the machines just wiped out all the moon base humans. And then maybe that's how the endings factor in. I still think there's something going on with like a pacifist, like how many robots you spare. I think that's gotta have something to do with it. But I don't know, those are my thoughts. Right now you've made it to the games Lime Green has recently played. And like last time, these recently played games are from like a year ago, because I've kept pushing them back. I'm like, this doesn't really jive well with FNAF, and now they're in NieR, and that makes sense, I guess. I also gave a little hint in this episode, a little subtler than last episode. Could you guess what it was? It's Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. I played it for the first time last year. This is also like I think it was like a game my dad played. And, I gotta go, play through all those games, see if I can eventually beat them and, prove to myself that I'm like a like a skilled gamer, I guess. Um, Plus, it's like a masterpiece in itself. Everyone says they have to play this once in their life, and it's also really prevalent today with the AI messaging. Um, Kojima game. uh, One thing people talk about is, you start as Snake, and then, like, throughout the rest of the game, you play as Raiden. And, like, that was a big thing people weren't happy about. I think I would have liked it better, or like, how do I say this? I would have been more chill with it if they gave you like one more portion where you play as Snake. Like, I'm still completely fine with playing as Raiden, but I also prefer this Raiden to, like, was it Metal Gear Revengeance or whatever? I'm not sure how Raiden goes from looking like this to like a cyborg ninja. That's kind of weird. I know that game is like crazy popular now. All I've seen is like in the trailers you slice a watermelon. I'm not I'm not sure how that translates to anything. Uh I'm not sure. People were really hyped about that game when it came out, and I think they're super hyped about it now. I'm not even sure if it's canon or not. Maybe that's how he's a cyborg ninja. Uh, what else about this game? I also prefer the codex in the first. Well, yeah. There's some good codex in the first game, some in the second. So it's kind of even. But I do prefer the bosses in the first Metal Gear Solid. Just like how they're laid out. You can't say that someone from Metal Gear Solid 2 beats out Psycho Mantis, really. Sniper Wolf's kind of iconic, you know, and Vulcan Raven, and then you get Metal Gear Solid 2. It has pretty good moments. Especially, I'll say, uh, again, we're getting into, spoiler territories here, where you fight like 20 Metal Gears. I didn't know that was a thing. That was kind of crazy. Uh, and you get like your sword. I kind of wish you got your sword early, like a little bit earlier, you know? Um, One thing I'll say that happened to me, and you're gonna be like, never taking my advice for anything ever again after hearing this, is they say, "Oh, get the PSG-1 and go into this hangar, and you gotta sneak in and become a guard." And so I had the guard stuff, but I had the wrong weapon, and I would go up to the elevator and it would scan your eye, and it would always be like, "Bring," and alert all these guards, and I would, kill them all, and then try and sneak in again. I'd walk really slow. They would notice me. I would be there for like, I had to have been there for like 3 hours, doing everything, sneaking, trying to kill them all, and then go into the elevator. Every possible way I could have done it before I noticed I just had the wrong weapon. Is that is that big of a deal, Kojima? Come on, Hideo. Are you telling me they notice just a weapon? Come on. Uh, what else? Uh, I liked. There's little details in the Metal Gear Solid game. They really perfect on. They really shine to a T. I liked like how you can upgrade your grip meter. Uh, there's the oxygen meter, and then you go to your little save stations. Little things like that. Uh, I know you're probably like, why are you talking like, uh, you know, praising them for little things? Metal Gear Solid's all about the little details. You know, everyone is all about, you know, when the colonel turns to like a skull in the one codec call, you know, nobody mentions when Raiden slips on the bird poop on the rooftops. It's little things that make Metal Gear Solid really good. Uh, Eventually, pretty soon here, I'm gonna play Metal Gear Solid 3. People say they go back and forth, and they say MGS 2 and 3 are the best. I'm gonna wait and see what mine favorite is. But I don't know. I'm already going into MGS 3 kind of wary. I'm wondering how the jungle aesthetic will do when, MGS 2 and 1 have like the whole industrial type of deal. So it's already got, a lot against it. But, it can still win me over. I'm interested. I'm interested. Don't get me wrong. But we'll see. Got kind of a weird way to end it. But thank you so much for watching the Out of Time podcast. This has been Life is Strange, a little bit of Life is Strange, NieR Automata, and MGS2. What will what will we be talking about next time? I don't even know. Until next time, bye bye.